You are listening to the Stoner's Point of View.
More than a feeling, more than a feeling. All right, so
Let's crush
that. We did pretty good, but what I will say is anyone attempting that would have botched it horribly, because that guy is out of this world. But we're going to get to that. Welcome to the Stoner's Point of View show, where we provide high-level analysis of music and movies and our impressions of such while under the influence of legal Canadian cannabis. My name is Brett. I'm here with my co-hosts in the same place at the same time. TP, PF, Trell, Phil. What's up, guys? You look like you're having a great
together at the same time. Trell, let's say this at the same time so the audio is actually saying 1, 2, 3. We're excited to be here.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the show. If you want to get in on it, you can go ahead and smash that like button, that subscribe button. So as our video watchers will notice, our audio people don't know what the hell is going on right now. But as the people checking this out on YouTube will no doubt notice, Terrell and Phil are in the same place at the same time. And this is a first for that. So I think, Terrell, you have something you want to say to a mutual acquaintance, Mitch, who was talking a little bit of trash.
Like my background now?
He's talking about a little.
You like my background, Mitch?
Yeah. How you like that background?
I just stole Phil's background.
That's how we do it around here. Huh? Want to step to us, bud? Huh? All tough and shit? Mitch?
Oh, you're going to get your noodles cooked, bud.
You ride up in here all hard and shit, huh? Yeah, we got a pretty solid episode today. Just so you guys know, we try to keep it on lockdown on the show most of the time. Today probably won't be one of those times. The fact that Terrell and Phil are at Phil's house in his studio and look high as a kite. A couple of kites.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
It's good, though. It's good. It's the Stoner's Point of View. I'm getting
it. I look like someone who would grow and do marijuana?
Doing the weed? You were doing the weed? And not only that, there's something about the interaction in person that makes it a little harder to keep it on the rails, but we're going to do our damnedest. So, start off... if you're following us on social media, or not following us rather, do so at the Stoner's POV on Instagram and Twitter. Check out our YouTube channel. Obviously, if you're watching this, you're already here. So comment, interact with us. I know last week on the show I was pandering for the interactions pretty hard, and it led me to an actual train of thought. What was more desperate? Was it the me trying to secure interactions with our fan base, or was it the 20 episodes plus of us pandering for advertisers? Which do you think sounded more desperate? I actually had that thought this week, so I wanted to just explore that for a second.
I don't know if I want to think about that too much in depth, Brett, because I might feel terrible about myself. Over to you, Terrell.
You know what? I don't really think about it at all.
And that's probably the best way to be. But yeah, as I alluded to earlier, we have a pretty sweet show today. We're doing More Than a Feeling by Boston, as you heard with our expert rendition at the start. And that's our song for the day. So you're welcome, listeners, for finally choosing a good song. And then our movie is Step Brothers, and it's really good, really funny. I enjoyed it. So weed. Canada.
Terrell and I tried some earlier, and I gotta say, I'm having a pretty good time over here.
Yeah. I didn't have any today, but I had some last night, and that Dad Kush got me Dad cooked. So, good stuff. Anything particular? Is just your homegrown this week, or is
just the homegrown stuff?
You know what? I bought some stuff from the weed store earlier this week. It was something crazy. I forget what it was called. It was like Chem OG, something crazy sounding like that.
Okay.
And I smoked it after work and immediately called Phil and was like, have you ever listened to More Than a Feeling on weed?
You definitely left me that voicemail too.
I called Brett and I left him a voicemail saying, "Hey Brett, have you ever listened to More Than a Feeling on weed?" And then I hung up.
I loved
I
it.
got that call, and it was like, I think it was like we had just put my wife and I had just put our daughter to bed, and then I get this call from Terrell, and I'm like out having a smoke. I'm like, bro, like I get it. That's cool. I've definitely heard that song when I'm high before. But like, I gotta do dishes and shit, bro. And like, Mandy's like, who was that? I'm like, it was Terrell. He just got high and listened to More Than a Feeling, and it makes sense. Like, it's understandable. Like, it's a passable excuse. Everyone has gotten high and listened to More Than a Feeling.
Oh yeah.
And been like, I gotta call someone and talk.
Well,
to
and
someone
whether
about
you
that.
intended to or not, like maybe you were just high and More Than a Feeling came on because every station plays it and every plays.
Well, and it will rock your ass.
Oh, absolutely.
Every time.
And since we're here, we might as well get right into it too. Like the band mostly consists of like two guys. One guy who does majority of the instruments, Tom Scholz, and the singer, Brad Delp, who, man, he's unreal. And I don't know if you could see in the video behind me, but check that stash. Like, this guy is rocking a power stash and just belting out these like angelic tones through it. And we'll revisit angelic tones a little bit later. But let's start the song off. It comes in with this amazing pick guitar with a fade in. Like, God bless him. Fade ins are sweet, and I thought it was awesome. And the bass is tight when it comes with boo, 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 boo.
That bass tone is amazing. I actually want to shout out a YouTube video. There's this guy named Rick Beato, and he does this series about like what makes songs great. And I actually made Phil watch it earlier today.
Oh, he breaks it down like track by track.
Oh, love
He
it.
has the masters, right?
He isolates everything and plays it back. It's so good.
That's fantastic.
And it's just like,
yeah,
like the bass line and everything that gives you chills about this song, he'll like isolate it, and you're like, oh yeah, like they just did everything insanely well, and it was like these basement or bedroom producers back in like the 70s.
Right.
Like, it's just insane.
Well, yeah, and like when the drums kick in and like the verse kicks in right away, like my immediate thought was, man, what a banger this song is. Like,
Dude, I love this song. Like, a funny story today, I saw Phil's baby and she was like crying. I was like, pass me the guitar. And I played the verse riff to More Than a Feeling, and she went from crying to thinking I was the coolest dude and like was totally fine with me being there. And you know what? I just hear this song, and it's crazy that the song is about like the feeling that you get from listening to a great song.
right.
And this song gives me that feeling, which is such like kind of so meta, which is hilarious.
It's
about when you hear
even
this
more than a
song, right?
feeling, yeah, one would say.
Right?
But but yeah, no, since we're there, let's talk about the lyrics a little bit, because they're actually really super cool, but also identifiable. And Tom Scholz says that was intentional, because like even though this was kind of about a fictional event, it's kind of that classic story that people can relate to. You lost someone important, and music kind of takes you back there, and sort of brings you back to that place. And I can totally relate. Like, yeah, it's exactly what you said, Terrell. When I hear that old song play, right, like it's like that. Yeah, it transcends.
Yeah, I love that feeling, like when you listen to a song, and there's certain songs that give you like goosebumps, especially when you're really into music and you're a musician and you hear a song for the first time that is like really special to you. And it's corny. I wasn't around in 76, and I didn't really know this song like intimately well until I really sat down and listened to it. And I love the structure of how it goes, like the verse and the kind of like the bridge pre-chorus and then the pre-chorus and then the chorus. Like, it just is such a well-written song, and
absolutely
everything about it is. I could talk about this song forever. It's such a great song.
Here's the thing, like an example of Terrell's experience with this song is that Brad, he left you. We were just talking about. He left you a voicemail about how sick this song is, and he called me, and he's like, "Have you ever listened to More Than a Feeling
on weed?"
And it's just a ridiculous song. You have to appreciate it.
And you're talking about the structure, and I really appreciated that a lot too, especially like coming out of the verse. And I'm a big fan of this in songs in general, but this is like, the gold standard of it, coming out of the verse into the chorus with like an amazing vocal part, which like he hits notes that I'm not sure even really exist.
Oh my God!
Like,
yes.
It's unreal. And then what I love is he holds that, and it just kind of holds, and then they come in with that catchy lick. Like, oh man.
One thing that actually what was that video we just watched? Who was that guy again?
Rick Beato, I just said.
Yeah, Rick Beato. Yeah, he talks about like how they actually sing into that. So there's actually like over that solo, like there's like a voice going like, like it's just
that guy does that, and like,
amazing.
and you think about this, like they did this in '76 where you had to do that in one take. There's no punch out, there's no auto tune.
Nope.
Yeah,
That is pure
Talent.
raw talent.
yeah.
And he sings that probably sang the whole song through like that, and they played the whole song through. Like the guitar tones, what really makes this song special, that is really nerdy about it, is this is one of the first times you really got double track guitars.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's why it really like slaps, as I say. Like it just is really heavy and stands up to this day because of those double track guitars. And
100%.
I think that when it goes from that harmonized riff into the chorus, everyone automatically just, it kind of reminds me of Louie Louie. Like that kind of riff. It's also like Smells Like Teen Spirit.
It never.
Kind of.
What I like about it is it never stops being good. Like you're vibing on the verse, and then he hits these vocal parts that you're like, oh my goodness, and then they have this lick, and you're like, oh, that's a catchy little harmonized lick, and then all of a sudden it boom, 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 and you're just like, oh my goodness, like this song might be one of the best songs ever written.
Well, yes, exactly. My thing with this song is like every time I listen to it now, or just like Boston in general, well, especially off of their first album, is that like these were like this was the invention of like the basement or bedroom producer.
Yeah.
Like that's what this was. Like it was one dude who was like, yo, I can shred the gnar. I just gotta find a vocalist that can shred the gnar with me.
Well,
and then we're gonna perform Boston, and we're gonna release More Than a Motherfucking Feeling.
Yeah, and it's just one of those like mad chemistries where a universally talented musician who's actually amazing finds a vocalist that's equally amazing, and they just combine their amazing powers. No one's like,
you're not even talking like we're not even talking just musically. Like Todd Schultz he actually invented like a lot of like the gear that he used to record. Like when they came to re-record this album, he told the producer basically to F off, and like they had to re-record it on all of his crazy shit that he invented and stuff. Right. Yeah, it's just such a crazy story behind this song.
Well, they worked on it for a long time. Like all of these songs took years for them to write, and they, like I said, they wrote and recorded it. Mostly Tom himself playing every instrument, which is really what I don't think people realize about Boston. It's not a band. Boston is just two guys in a bedroom,
right?
And they wrote these like not only incredibly like rocking songs, but they're really catchy. It's an undeniable power in the vocals that I feel like transcends like a lot of rock songs, especially for that time in like the 70s. You know what I mean? Like how melodic they were, and how catchy they were, but also really rocking a lot of ass
and well written. Like the way he was able to take this amazing singer and be like, yeah, this part, if it goes into this part, like the connection's gonna be like out of this world, and it just is. Like I love this song. These guys knew how to write a great one. I love that post-chorus part too. I see my Marianne walking away, and I like how they do like a different solo each time. Like guys just like, I'm gonna do another solo here. Oh, same one? No, a different one.
You know, that's what's really cool about that guitar part there. It's actually a 12-string acoustic on one side, and then the other side is like a lo-fi kind of electric, and that's how they get that really thick, lush kind of acoustic, clean guitar sound. And it's simple chords. Like if you know how to play guitar, like a lot of these parts, there is some interesting chord progressions, but the main parts, like anybody could learn this. I'm sure in the 70s when this song came out, every kid was learning the guitar parts because it's pretty straightforward to play. And I think that's what makes the song special. It has like a recognizable kind of tonality to it and like a feeling, and it just is so well written. Like it's hard to like find anything to not like about this song, especially if you're like a rock and roll person. This is like a great like A1 example of like a great rock song.
And like it also like it captures that tone or like that feel. Like it's so hard to describe, but like stuff that actually came from that time, like from like this like late 70s, and like like it's just
when the world was changing socially and everything.
But like just like it just has that vibe and that feel that other bands have definitely tried to replicate.
Right.
But like I feel like that's just gone now. Like I feel like you can't do that anymore, even if you try.
Right.
This was like kind of like the last bastion of that feeling.
But
And
yet
it's
somehow
more-
they captured it in like a timelessness that like, yeah, even to this day we can go and listen to that and still be absolutely blown away by it. Like in the solos, he's got these outstanding harmonies that are just like, I didn't actually realize how it was produced. So that's a great fact. But I did notice that they are pretty tight, those harmonies. Like
they're very well done. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's simple stuff too. Like the solos aren't like wildly crazy. Like the main riff in the chorus, like that everyone loves, that's kind of like reminiscent of Smells Like Teen Spirit. The everyone knows that riff, and it's not hard to play this stuff. Like I'm telling you, kids, you play guitar, this is definitely a song to try to learn that I think is like an impressive song, but also like just a fun, great song to learn.
Well, apparently Nirvana played at Reading Festival in '92. They recognized that it was very similar riff, and they opened up with Smells Like Teen Spirit. They opened it up by playing the chorus of More Than a Feeling.
That's sweet.
That's amazing.
Great fact. What I really like is so when they're going into the last chorus, what I really like is they do that lick that they've done a couple times, and this is just a testament to like what you were saying earlier, Terrell. Like it's simplicity in the sense that someone new should learn to play it because it's cool, but it's also like advanced songwriting. Like that they do that lick kicking into the chorus, right? And they do the you know, they hold it extra long going into the last one. Like it's just that sauce that's just, you know, I love that about their songwriting. I just found that.
I love this discussion even. It's a great thing to bring up. Like I think a lot of people think that music should always be like this complicated contest against other musicians.
Right.
But the best songs, in my opinion, and people will argue with me, they're not always like, even though these guys are technically proficient, this isn't like a hard song to pick up and learn, going back to what I was saying before. And that's what makes it so great, is that there's like a recognizable sound to it. There's this recognizable kind of like rhythms, but it's all unique in its own and its own special sauce. That like you're saying, right? And I think that's what I love about this song the most. It just has like there's nothing to not like.
Yeah. Everything's rocking all the time in this song. Like that's the thing. Like it's like you can pick apart any part of this song at any given moment within the song, and every member of that band is kicking fucking ass at that moment.
Both of them.
And think about this. Even beyond that, if you're just like a casual listener, there's no way that you can say that this song and the lyrics and the vocals aren't like just like lifting your spirits and like you want to sing along. Imagine this at a concert.
Yeah.
Well, everyone's singing this
I definitely think one of the most like profound things that we've discussed here is just like, yes, new songwriters or new people learning to play should learn this song because you can learn it. Well, minus the singing, you're probably gonna suck at that.
Good luck with that. Yeah, good luck.
On that. Like,
but
let's talk about. Sorry, go on.
No, go ahead.
Let's talk about that though. Like, think about Boston without their singer. Like not it's like that like serendipitous meeting of like a psycho home producer who's like the first of his kind, really ever, and like meets a singing talent like that.
Right, he just happens to meet like a prodigious vocalist who's
like he's like, I can sing over your shit, but like on like a whole new level.
Yeah,
like it's amazing.
Yeah,
I can imagine how that interview went. Like he's probably like, "Hey, can you sing? You think you could sing over this?" He's like, "Oh, not only can I sing over this,
I got this."
Yeah, he's like, "I have the voice of an angel and Beyonce mixed together."
Speaking of that, no, we are going to get there. I know, for all those listeners waiting with bated breath. But first, we got to rank this song, boys. So why don't we start with Cheech and Chong over there? What do you boys give this song out of 10?
All right, I'm gonna go first. I'm gonna give this song a 9 out of 10. And that's only because I was put on the spot. Otherwise, I might give it a higher number. But it's just like it's such a classic. It's more than a feeling. Like the singing is on point. Like again, at any point in this song, every instrument is doing something.
Well, look at these guys doing awesome stuff behind me. Like,
Exactly. Well, that was the thing. It was like, and also like given the history, like this is what gave birth to bedroom producing,
yeah.
and like like
Which we are
sit
all
here-
bedroom producers.
yeah, like we're all like like Terrell sitting here in my little shitty basement studio, but like we all have our own shitty
Basement studios.
little
Yeah.
studios that we work in.
Yeah.
And it's kind of thanks to this. So
Yeah, I agree.
fuck it, I'm gonna give it a 9.5. I'm gonna raise it up to that.
Attaboy. What are you, Terrell?
I'm going to 9.6. I think as a musician, you can talk about a song a certain way, and then as a listener, you can talk about a song a certain way. And if you were to like do a review from either point of view for this song, you come to the same conclusion. It's an incredible song, and I think sometimes songs like transcend just being like about like how technically talented someone is or how
Right.
great of a songwriter is. There's just something about this song that I can't describe. Like it's corny.
It's more than a feeling.
It's more than a feeling.
More than a
really,
feeling.
It truly
Yeah.
is. And I just, when I hear this song, it pumps me up so much, and it puts me in a place that I feel that few songs do. And that's why I have to give it the ranking. And from my point of view, if you want to rock out, this is such a classic that I think everyone that listens to rock music just loves and gushes over. So what's there not to like?
I couldn't agree more. And since I want to kind of give around the same score as you guys, but not the same one, I'm going to give it a 9.55.
Oh, there we go.
First ever double
I think
decimal.
this is maybe the closest consensus we've ever had.
Yeah,
I think it is. Yeah.
yeah. It's there's nothing bad I can say about it. I love the song start to finish. Listen to it at least 5 times for this show, and at least 1 trillion times in my life. It's very good, and it's one of those songs. Let's do this because I wonder this. This song comes on, you're listening to the whole thing, undoubtedly, right? I think that's
Fuck yeah, you
yeah.
are. Of course.
Yeah, you're hanging out. This comes on a playlist, and conversely, on the other side of that coin, you're hanging out with someone, and this song comes on, and they change it. You are giving them mad shit, right? Like,
what are you doing?
Yeah. Not cool. Not cool.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I think we're all in agreement. Boston, you done good, and
You've done good.
we're all thrilled to have broke down this song on the show today. So with that, I think we're quickly approaching a need to take a first little siesta, but we will
I
be
have to pee.
back to cover Step Brothers, the meat and potatoes of the episode, if you will, which is hard to say when we just did a song that great, but it's going to be awesome, and we'll get to it right after the jump. Welcome back to the second half, Stoner's Point of View. We're just going to get right into Step Brothers. Terrell and Phil look like a couple of Step Brothers over there right now, just hanging out, being bros. I don't really have any opening thoughts about this movie that I'm probably not going to cover when I get into the movie. It's hilarious, and so let's just get right into it. Right off the hop, while the credits are rolling, we can just hear someone making snacks, and turns out it's Will Ferrell making a sick plate of ghetto nachos. He put like hickory sticks on like some.
Okay, so we were watching this earlier. Terrell and I were watching the movie earlier today, and I would eat those nachos. We were having the debate whether or not is there such a thing as nachos that aren't good enough?
No,
Because I think like they're all just good enough.
The reason why is like you see this in movies like Napoleon Dynamite, where like that's a real like American thing to do. Like put some cheese on some nachos and mic them, and that's like a nice snack. And the question was like, is it a nice snack? It is.
Yes, it is. Cheese
Oh, for sure
plus
it is.
nachos plus heat equals good.
yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah, exactly. And I love these opening stuff because we're getting little bits about both guys. Because next we get the John C. Reilly scene. He's shredding Guitar Hero, like just like full blown rock star mode in his dreams, right? Just giving it. And I love the back and forth between the two and how it's just kind of like introducing them in cuts. But I had a quick question for you guys. When you think of John C. Reilly, other than this movie, what movie comes to mind from him?
Oh, well, I know he was in like some serious movies back in the day.
I think of him as more of a serious actor, other than like Walk Hard, where he like that like kind of like making fun of like Johnny Cash. That movie he's really funny in, but like I think he wasn't in like a ton of like comedies that were huge like this. Like I wanted to ask you, Brad, before we really get into this movie, and like I wanted to ask Phil too. Is this the best like modern comedy?
Like post 2005, I'd say yeah.
It's definitely up there for sure. Like
Yeah.
it'd be hard for me to think of a better one that didn't have Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly involved.
Right, especially on the spot. Yeah. So for me, just kind of backtracking a bit, maybe this is indicative of my dadness, but John C. Reilly is Wreck-It Ralph to me. Like that's who he is.
Oh yeah.
So that I wanted to
didn't
ask.
watch that as much. That's more for little boys than little girls.
Yeah, true enough. True enough. So anyways, their parents get married to each other. They meet each other at this like convention, and what I love about this, it kind of ties in with the going back and forth between Brennan and Dale. At the wedding, each one of them get their kind of peace out scene. You know what I mean? Like they get their mic drop and take off scene. Like it's cool. It gives each actor a chance to shine and does a little bit of character development. Spoiler alert, they're both idiots.
Like these whole credits are like a really quick, like, here's what the movie's about. Here you go. Yeah. And it's really funny because the way they show all the four main characters, which is like Dale and Brennan and then Nancy and Dawn. The part that I love the best that is so funny is that scene like where before they decide to get married where they talk about how they have like these 40-year-old sons. I love like the actor that plays Dawn. I don't actually know his name.
His name is Richard Jenkins. Richard Jenkins.
Yeah. You could tell that he's like more of like a serious actor, but he's so funny in this movie, him and Nancy.
Yes.
And I love that scene now, like he thinks he's lost her, but then that's what makes them really fall in love with each other is these two like sons. And that's really the basis of this whole movie is like them falling in love and like what happens afterwards, basically.
Well, and I think it's such a cool concept. Like it's simple, but it's kind of elegant in its simplicity. What if two 40-year-olds still living at home's parents got married?
Genius.
Like,
Yeah.
it's not just a cool concept for the movie itself, but like when the guys are in the scenes together, that's when it really starts to shine as a movie, right? We get the best of both worlds. So, but right before they move in together, we get the little funny scene with the blind guy. I don't know if you guys caught the blind guy scene where he's like, "Can I come over later and touch your face?"
Yes. Well, the scene before this where they're driving where he's like, I'm not calling him dad ever. And then he's like, even if there's a fire.
Yeah.
Just like all the one-liners. I have to apologize, Phil. I know I gave you a hard time about Scarface.
Yep. No, you did.
You're going to have to hold me back with Step Brothers because like I have this movie memorized. Like they mention pot a lot in this movie since it's a stoner's point of view. The car ride with Nancy when he's driving up to move in with his new family. They're talking about Robert's like education and how he went to like John Hopkins and how it's really prestigious. He's like, I smoked pot with John Hopkins. He's like, me and Johnny Hopkins and Slow Kettering, we were blazing that shit up every day.
Yeah,
it's just so funny. It's nonstop.
Yeah, it's definitely way too much. Like just watch the movie, folks. Go watch it.
It's so good.
If you haven't seen the movie, what are you doing here?
Stop listening to us.
Go listen to More Than a Feeling. Get high. Listen to More Than a Feeling. And
watch Step Brothers. Like seriously, it's a good time. Like we're running through the anatomy of a good time for you in this episode. So we get the dinner scene. There's some dinner hijinks, which was funny stuff. I don't know if you guys have any particular one-liners you want to shout out about the dinner scene, but what I like was at the end when Brennan's going to handshake Robert and he just kind of awkwardly gives him a slow. Like he's like reaching in for the hug handshake thing, and then when Robert actually sticks his hand out, he like pulls it away.
Yeah.
Will Ferrell is just so brilliant in this movie. Like his acting is just on a whole nother level, I feel.
And his body language and his acting has always been stellar. But yeah,
yeah. Well, I just watched this video. What is it? I think it's Joe Blow movies or something on YouTube. Joe Blow, check them out. They have all these breakdowns of movies, but they just released one that was on Leslie Nielsen.
Okay.
And how he always played the straight man, but was fucking hilarious while he did it.
Right.
And like watching this, it's just such a throwback to like Will Ferrell, and it's just
for
amazing
sure.
to see.
Well, and I have it in my notes somewhere. I think it's in a later scene, but we can talk about it now. Like Ferrell just like, I don't even know how to put it. His personality just dominates whatever scene he's in.
Yeah.
Like, and if he's not dominating the scene at the start, by the end he is, right? When he's given his chance in a scene, he just like steps up as much as he needs to, and you got to wonder how much of that is like strictly going by the dialogue, and how much is like just him.
I think it's improv.
Yeah, right. That's what I kind of
Like the
thought
ketchup
too.
scene, like his secret sauce, like that is so like
Yeah.
they just made that up. They just went with it and acted like some little bratty kids over
Yeah.
ketchup and mayo mixed
Yeah,
together.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
then
like, and if you watch like Will Ferrell, like on like in his SNL days, like you see as soon as he sees somebody start to break,
Yeah,
he'll just go in on them and just get more and more ridiculous.
right. He feeds off that, right?
Yeah, yeah. What's really cool, I just realized this week is Saturday Night Live, like their YouTube channel has finally released all of the old videos. So you can watch all the old like Will
Excellent.
Ferrell shit and everything. Like it's all there in playlists now. It's not like blocked.
This
So
guy.
after you're done watching this, go watch that, and
Go
then,
watch this guy.
Yes, but yeah, like but. Sorry, that was just like what got me thinking about that. But yeah, Will Ferrell's he just improvises and just tries to fuck with everyone around him. And I
right.
love
Well, and we get the initial scene about the drum set where he's told not to play it, and he plays just the shit out of it, right? And then when Dale comes in, he's like, "Why are you all sweaty?" He's like, "Oh, no." It's just
Oh, I'm just watching Cops.
yeah, just watching. He's like, "I know Cops doesn't come on till 4." He's like, "I know you messed with my drum set," and they're like arguing, and he's like, "I know you at least touched my drum stick because there was a chip out of it." It's just funny.
So I was watching that and I was thinking it reminds me of
Someone we know?
somebody.
It reminds me of someone too.
Who
actually.
did this? Where are you? Me too. No, I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, then we get the bedtime stuff, and this is funny because it's like it's juxtaposed between two things. There's obviously the newlywed parents having a chat in their bed, and then there's Brennan and Dale have to share a room. So I want to get to both because there's like the only thing really notable for me about the parent scene is we get a little bit of a verbal introduction to Derek when they're talking before we actually see him. And I personally love Derek as a character in this movie. I think he's hilarious. He's like such a douche, like such a smug douche, and we'll definitely get there.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, and then so we get back to Dale and Brennan, and they're just talking shit in bed. It's so funny. And this is a perfect example. This is where I have the note about Farrell just exerting his dominance. Because you got to wonder if that back and forth was strictly like scripted, because the way he like, you see him think about it for a second. He's like, "I will grab a pillowcase with bars of soap and beat the shit out of you."
This is my favorite scene in the whole movie, and my favorite line is where he's like, "You and your mom are hillbillies. This is a house to learn doctors." He's like, "You're not a doctor. You're a curly-headed fuck." I just love how they like go back and forth and like make fun of each other. It just reminds me of like me and my friends.
Like what it's like. Truth is, we just let you live here. Because me and my dad both wanted to bone your
No,
mom.
we think your mom is hot.
yeah. And so after this, we get like a bit of a montage of them messing with each other in different ways, and like we get some more stuff with the drums, and I have a note here in my stone brain that drum room is actually pretty cool. Like
It is
Super
And yeah, he's got the soundproofing on the walls and shit.
Like you can tell
Yeah.
this 40-year-old guy just like has spent all of his allowance or whatever you want to call it on just like making his drums better and his drum room cooler.
Fun fact about this: John C. Reilly and Will Ferrell sing and drum all their parts in this. It's not like recorded or whatever.
Right.
They actually did that. So like, obviously that's the like climax of the movie, but like
Yeah.
John C. Reilly really knows how to play drums quite well.
Oh yeah.
And Will Ferrell's a great singer, it turns out.
And Will Ferrell also looks like exactly like what's his name, Chad Smith from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
He does.
Right.
He
Looks
does.
exactly like.
Oh,
that.
that reminds me, just to go on a little stoner tangent here. The Saturday Night Live where he like plays drums alongside.
Yes, classic.
Yeah, that's really good. Anyway,
Again, it's all on YouTube now. Like there's
But
like
all-
a Will Ferrell playlist. And
all
it's got over 200 videos.
all that
Check
Will
it out.
Ferrell does with the drum kit in this movie is put his nuts on it, and straight
You know,
up
fun fact,
testicles all over the all over the drum kit.
fun fact for you, Brett. Those testicles cost about 20 grand, those fake testicles, and he was presented them like gift wrapped by the team, the cast. So
Nice.
they're a very important part of the plot,
Yeah.
I'd say.
So obviously, testicles on the drum kit is the last straw. Dale and Brennan have this big fight where they like the climax of it is they knock each other out. I think one has a golf club and the other has a
bike.
Sorry.
Does anyone have a bike?
Yeah, at one point he has a bike, but for the actual like double knockout,
Oh yeah.
I didn't know what he had in his hand.
I think it was like a hoe or something.
Yeah, some kind of
rake or something
mundane
like that.
item.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's on the road to them becoming cool with each other. Like after that, they got ice packs on their head. They're sitting there watching TV, and it's like, I hate you, but that was cool. Like, and then right after this, we get the sleepwalking scene, which is pretty funny. Just how they fucking destroy this house.
Yeah, oh, it's just so
It's a
ridiculous.
consistent escalation of the destruction of the house while sleepwalking.
Yeah, well, like there's like I don't know, like because like if you see like John C. Reilly eventually went on to be like Dr. Steve Brule of Brule's Rules and like get involved in all that like that like Tim and Eric shit. And like this is like kind of a start of it. Like you see them just like walking, like sleepwalking, and be like blah 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 blah, and just like just smashing everything. And you see that like that like really like was like not even profound. I don't know, just like that ridiculous humor really come out.
For sure. What I love about this is the next morning scene right off the start when Robert and Nancy come in. You just hear Robert say, "I don't know where you learned it from, but I'm still sore." And then Nancy's like, "Well, there's plenty more with that." And they see the mess, and it's just like this thing. But my stone brain caught that intro line.
That's one line I have never caught. I gotta rewatch that now.
Yeah, that's a deep cut there, Brett.
Stoned brain, man. I tell you, it just picks up random shit. That's what this show exists for.
There you go.
So then we get the actual introduction to Derek, and we get his family sing along in the car, and they're doing "Sweet Child of Mine." They do a pretty good job.
I love this part.
Yeah,
this is my favorite part of the movie.
Like the thing is, like, okay, so I love Catherine Hahn in this, and you'll know her from her recent appearances on WandaVision. But she was not flat or off key at all.
No, she's saying really well.
I just love that. He's like, you don't even look good while you're saying it.
yeah. Like it's not enough to insult this. This is the worst performance I've ever heard. Like
He's like, I spent how much on
$1,200 on a week on voice lessons, and this is what I get. just destroy. Like she's just like psychologically dead. But yeah, the guy who plays Derek
that comes into play shortly after.
Yeah, the guy who plays Derek, Adam Scott, he's actually like a pretty outstanding actor too. I'm a
Hilarious
big fan.
in this movie.
He was on Parks and Recreation, wasn't he? Yeah, really good on that show as well.
But yeah, he does the douchebag character pretty excellently here. Like someone has to be the antagonist of a movie about two 40-year-olds doing dumb shit, and he does a pretty good job of it.
He fucking nails it.
Well, and what I love is he's like, so he's this douchey sales guy, and I don't know any of those, but he's all cocky at dinner, and yeah, sorry, that is the sick burn of the week. It's back, boys. He's all cocky at dinner, and what I love about this is Robert. He's just enamored with this guy. He keeps saying, "God, you're impressive."
Because he's so impressed, right, by like the fact that him and Nancy have these two awful sons.
Right.
But then there's like literally the most perfect, and that's what makes this character so funny, I feel, because he like exemplifies like the truly like perfect son or like child that you could have in the family, because he's like well off and has a good family.
Well, I love when he like starts talking about like, because like this reminds me of like when I got my first like fancy boy sales job in Toronto with this guy. Like I ran into like guys that were like, "Bro, I got my real estate license for shits and gigs," and like that's a line from this movie, and like that's
verbatim.
Like, yeah, I've met that guy a lot of times.
Yeah.
Yes, I have. If you are that guy, if you're that ambitious, cool. But it's just how you present yourself that makes you look like a douche.
Right. Well, and it's kind of lost on Robert at this point because he's just like, so. He's thinking, oh my gosh, someone competent. I can actually like have a conversation with someone. And I feel like the actor does an amazing job of just conveying how like worn down he's become after decades of just like taking care of a man-child loser.
Well, we all have kids, right?
Yeah.
Like, could you imagine like your kid, I was saying this to Phil earlier, could you imagine your kid turns out like where they're 40, they are still microwaving nachos with cheese and eating
Hickory
Count
sticks.
Dracula, watching aerobics.
Yeah.
And
doing karate in the garage.
Yeah, like
But
if
we'll
my
get
kid
to
was
that.
doing that at 40, I'd be pretty upset.
Yeah.
when I have a garage, I'm going to be the one doing karate in it.
Well, yeah, exactly. Naturally. So after dinner, we get the treehouse scene where Derek comes up and he's doing some smug, cocky douchebag shit again, and then he basically looks at Dale and he's like, "Oh my God, you want to punch me in the face right now?" He's like, well, go
So
ahead,
funny.
go ahead, do it. Come on, punch me in the face, do it. And you just see him; he actually does it because, like, you can. And the best part of this scene is like Brennan. You can tell this has been his life for 40 years. Like he's been dared to do this, but always been like too hesitant or too scared, like doesn't want to disappoint his mom or whatever. But Dale just has none of those predispositions. Like he's like, he told me to.
We get some background on this earlier in the movie where Robert and Nancy are talking about Derek, and they talk about how Brennan was embarrassed at the
Right.
talent show because of his brother.
Brennan has a mangina. Brennan has a mangina. Yeah.
Anyways, so yeah, and I remember this in the movie being like, you know, I said this to Phil too. We were watching it. I was like, if my family did that, I'd probably beat them up.
Yeah, right.
Like, that's a pretty traumatic, evil thing to do.
So
in front of
there's
the whole school.
There's a motley crew of reactions to Derek getting punched in the face. One of which is his wife Alice is super turned on by it, and she basically like kind of rapes Dale after.
Well, I love how
Oh
she's
my
like,
goodness.
she's like, I just want to take your curly little hair, put you in a ball, and put you up my vagina. And
It's
like,
nice
she's
and
like,
warm and
she's
safe.
like, yeah, and she's just like caressing him, and
It's
he's like,
just such a
like,
creepy thread through
Right.
the whole movie.
Right.
And it's just so great. Like, it's just like, you know, we talk a lot about like how like movies would have been canceled if they
Right.
came out today, and like this thread would have not been included. But
Right.
it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah,
Catherine Hahn
and-
is so funny. I
Yeah.
feel in this movie, like her
agree.
character, like going after Dale the whole time, is just so over the top and
Well,
ridiculous.
and
like,
and
you
there's
can't laugh.
layers. There's layers to the character. Like maybe she might have been like a normal soccer mom at some point in life if her husband wasn't like an emotionally destructive douche nozzle, right? Like,
Well,
who
because
knows?
of him, Brennan and her like totally changed their kind of like point of view on Dale, and like Brennan and Dale become like best friends
Right.
because of him punching his
Well,
brother.
that's it. The punch is what
Oh,
brings the
that's-
boys closer together, and then this is where the line comes in, where they become best friends, and they like find all this thing they identify on, and right after he's like, "You want to go do karate in the garage?" Yup. Right. It's so good.
Oh, Brett, that reminded me of something. Here's a Canadian moment. When I met Brett's dad for the first time, I found out he had punched out somebody that I knew from back in the day that I didn't like, and I shook his hand. I was like, "Oh,
That
you're
was like-
fucking
that was like
cool,
their
that guy's
initial moment,
fucked,
yeah.
eh?"
Sorry that if you're not Canadian and listening to this, sometimes punching someone in the face can lead to a bonding moment. Terrell and I never really connected musically until we were having a joint band practice, and I watched him punch someone we knew. And
Yeah.
then after that, I was like, "Hey, I'm going to be in your band," and then I was. Sweet.
Terrell is the only one I've known to punch someone out of a band.
Not my proudest moment, guys.
Well,
But
you're
it is an
kids.
effective,
You're kids, though.
it's an effective way to get someone out of your band. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah,
We're getting way off the rails here, but there's this great bonding montage between the boys after that, and then it resolves with them bursting into Robert and Nancy's room, trying to find a way to ask them if they can make their beds into bunk beds.
yeah.
I just love the awkwardness of that whole exchange, and like it's a bad idea right from the start.
Oh
But-
yeah. Leave all the room for activities.
Well, and you could just hear Robert like in bed like, "Hey, no power tools, no power tools, yeah." But, yeah. So what I love is they get the bunk beds made, and anybody who's seen the trailer has seen this part, but they get the bunk beds made, and like right away, he goes to jump up on it. It just was not made to handle the weight of a grown man.
Not a 40-year-old man.
And not only that, like he stepped up on something and then kind of jumped up on the bed. So he's got that momentum crashing down. The bed just collapses. And you just hear him screaming, "Oh, it's bad! Oh, it's really bad!"
Why would you let us do that?
They blame the parents
After
like they're not
they
40-year-old
begged-
men.
They begged the parents to do it first. Oh yeah, sorry. This really got me. And just revisiting it now got me going again. I'm all hysterical now. So yeah, it ends up kind of. Robert's got this plan that him and Nancy are going to go retire on a boat. And so he's trying to encourage the guys to go get jobs. And like, I like how at first he's kind of doing it nicely, but like very pushy. You know, he's like, okay, guys, yeah, you need anything from my closet, you go ahead. You go get suits from my closet. And
they choose tuxedos.
right. You need to kill it. Yeah, well, and let's not gloss over the fact that they're going for jobs. They're going job hunting in tandem. They decided that if they're going to get a job, by God, they're going to get it together. And there's a few different interviews. They're all kind of have their own charm to them, but obviously the one that stood out to me that I liked the most was our boy Seth Rogen making his
obviously
triumphant return to the Stoner's point of view.
Seth Rogen, loyal listener as well, from what I've heard.
Yeah, he's a big fan. He doesn't want to let us know that he listens to every episode, but he does. We saw him.
Even the ones that don't have anything to do with him.
What up, Seth?
We had the analytics, Seth. We had the analytics. But yeah, the scene is really funny too. Like, okay, so they have a different way of kind of kiboshing every interview. And they're all funny. They're all worth watching. Go watch it. But this one, it's not in their demeanor. It's not the things they say. It's just John C. Reilly, Dale ripping a big fart. Like,
well, they pretty much have the job too. Like the funniest part about it all, he's like, you know what? He's like, you're hired. He's like, I like
this
you
might sound crazy, but like, I'm just looking for some guys I want to hang out with.
Yeah.
and then it's all quiet. He's like, unless you're super weird, unless you do something just like unforgivable.
Yeah. It's just as long fart, and then
I can taste that.
yeah, yep, that's onion and ketchup.
Probably one of the best fart jokes.
Just in Seth Rogen's deadpan delivery too, right? He's like, yep, that's onions and ketchup.
That is also, the fart is the most timeless joke there is. Like, I am sorry, farts have only gotten funnier to me.
Yes, and here's the thing, like
a fine wine.
I discovered this kind of cheat code in my crazy youth days. But if anybody is being like a sourpuss and not like responding to jokes or whatever, do the old Jim Carrey Dumb and Dumber flaming fart, and you cannot not laugh at a flaming fart. Like, it will make you laugh. I have seen from experience someone very angry with me who was like cursing me out as I'm putting the lighter up, and then right after, laughter. The merry sound of laughter that you can't help.
One of my favorite fart jokes is the old, hey, you hear that? You hear that? And like, I do it with my daughter sometimes. It's classic dad joke. You're like, hey, you hear that? You hear that? They're like, what? And then you go,
yeah, that's a good one. We're already past the line, so I want to tell another one that was notable to me. A mutual friend of ours, Mark, got me with one of the best ones. We're just standing outside at Phil's place for one thing or other. Mark, if you're listening, hey. But he's just like, oh yeah, before I forget. And I think, like Dale says about the one in the movie, I think it was just like longer than he had anticipated because it just went on like a little too long. Like, anyways, so back to the movie. Sorry, guys. It's the Stoner's point of view. Two-thirds of us are high, and I'm the one going on tangents. But so, anyways, they hatched this plan to start this company that they never really elaborate on, but it's going to be called Prestige Worldwide, and they're going to do stuff and make money. And so we get back to the house, and there's Derek. He's trying to sell it. Like, you get this cool conversation with Derek and Robert, where he's just kind of like, "Hey, yeah, I can sell this thing for you." And Robert's like, "You would do that?" Like he's into it. Like, there's someone competent in my life again. Like, he's revisiting that. Like, God bless you. Like,
I like the part where Nancy like interrupts him, but he's like, Nancy, stop the record, because she's like, what, Robert? Why are you talking to me this way?
In front of my son,
Has his arm around like Buddy, and it's like, it's just he's so in love with his son.
Yeah, well, he calls him son at one point, and I believe like Nancy's like, why'd you call him son? And he's like, not now. He just keeps trying to quiet Nancy on the thing. But anyways, every time Derek tries to sell the house, Brennan and Dale decide to sabotage it. And it's just,
oh my God.
There's a few different ways. What's your guys' favorite way that they sabotage the house?
I can guess Phil's.
And you guessed right. It's the Nazi one.
Yeah. So
I spent a little bit of time in real estate.
Yeah.
And Oh, that shit hits different. Like,
The
I would have
the
to say the dead body, like
Yeah.
the first one with the dead bodies, is like too funny, personally.
definitely. Yeah, I think that's mine too. Dead bodies. I'm gonna go with that. It's a little safer.
Whatever. Still, Nazi shit can be funny.
It is in this instance, like, because like they pretend to be like neighbors, like waving, like, "Oh hi, how are you?"
Hey! Just wanted- yeah, it's so good.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
God.
So because
I'm canceled before I started.
because this you know what, Phil? You're fired.
Yeah, whatever.
Don't worry,
We
Connor.
basically
He
fire
won't be
Phil
back.
every episode.
He won't be back, Connor. Don't worry.
I'm sorry, Connor.
Oh,
Connor,
geez. No. So we get the
I'm writing about Chopper Raid.
Stop it.
we so then we get a switch to Derek's birthday scene. We get the Prestige Worldwide pitch, and this is the music video. I believe the picture behind you guys is actually a clip from that music video.
Yeah, it is.
But
Prestige Worldwide.
they're actually on Robert's boat, and he's like apoplectic. He's like, "Is that my boat?" And it's like boats and hose, boats and hose. But yeah, they at the end of it, they end up smashing the boat, and
I just love that, like, just like the last shot, just they like just smash.
yeah, it's like the
like, don't worry, it's no big deal. You should still invest.
yeah.
It's okay. Don't worry about the boat, Robert. You should give us money.
That's it.
Yeah.
Robert's going insane. He's like losing it on them. It's like, listen, cut us a check for $10,000. Stop crying about your boat. they can't fathom that this was like their entire future. But
It just reminds me of to sound Canadian about it, dummies that I've known with their big business plans, and
Yeah.
like their pitch is exactly like this, minus the boat crash at the end.
right, so it has no redeeming qualities. So then we get Robert and Nancy decide to get a divorce, and they have this huge fight and stuff. And now, because the house is selling, Robert and Nancy are getting divorces. They've all found places to live and stuff. The guys got to figure it out. So they end up going Splitsville and kind of like hating each other a little bit again. And Brennan goes and gets a job with Derek, who pretty much takes him on so he can laugh at him and make fun of him. But Brennan, he's man, when he's on his game, he's a baller. He says he wants the Catalina wine mixer.
Yeah.
And Derek just is like, you know what? It's a win-win for me. He's like, if you do well, I look like a genius, and if you do bad, I get to fire your ass. And what I like about this scene, well, I don't know if I liked it, but it was notable.
You're gonna do the dick chomping guy?
That guy, yeah. But I wasn't gonna do that part of it. I was gonna do how he keeps saying "pow" after all of Derek's lines. Pow. Yeah.
So funny story about that. I've done that to my daughter before, where I'll just be like at a door, like pow, and she'd be like, I remember doing it so much, she'd be like, Jared, stop it.
Yeah.
Like he's so mad.
Well, I guess the guy from that part was he was like a Marine and shit.
Yeah.
Like the guy who plays it.
Who is that actor?
Yeah.
I can't remember. I don't even remember his name. But yeah, he like went through. He's like seen combat and shit. And so when you see that intensity from him,
Right.
like knowing who he is, you're like, oh, some of that's real. And it's like,
Yeah.
he'll eat your dick. I've seen him do it.
It's so funny.
Oh man. So then we get the actual scene at the Catalina wine mixer, and everybody kind of sees each other. Dale had gotten a temp job with like a catering company, so he's now doing the catering for the wine mixer. And Brennan's invited Robert and Nancy on some, not so subtle quest to get them back together, which Robert picks up on right away. He's like, I think Brennan invited us here to get us back together. But then the band, the wine mixer band, starts causing a bunch of shit and ends up taking off. And then this is where all hope might be lost. But of all people, Robert, to come and have his complete turn of character, he's so unnerved at seeing Dale and Brennan doing like the normal functional adult stuff. It's so jarring to him that he like convinces them to get up on stage and save the damn wine mixer, or the fucking Catalina wine mixer, as we'll soon hear everyone call it. And yeah, they do, and they put on a performance, man.
Like, yeah, they do. Boats and hose. Well, yeah, they do Ave Maria.
Yeah.
And you get to see, like, sorry, go on.
No, I was just gonna say, they're doing that song, and I love about this. We talked about John C. Reilly and how he's actually like a drummer and a really good one. Well, there's actually like a drum buildup in that opera song where he could have just went do 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 to follow along with it, right? And I noticed that nope, he's like playing, like he's playing on the hi-hats and stuff, and I was just like, okay.
Well, and you'll notice in scenes, in scenes during that, like you'll notice that like the fills he's doing maybe don't follow along with the recording they used for that scene, but you see him doing those fills, and you're like, oh, that guy knows what he's doing. Like,
definitely.
He's it might not sync up, but you know he's not just like an actor pretending he knows how to play.
He's a drummer, right? And like I think what my stoned brain picked up on the most in that part is just like there was actually a drum, like it's an opera song, so it's definitely centered around the singing, but there was eventually a drum part that builds up, and he chose not to do the actual drum part with it. So that was where my stone brain was like, hey, that's kind of weird. But eventually he gets his own sweet drum solo at the end and just shreds the gnar on that kit, man. Like,
listen, tasty kid, he's lucky. Normally the house kit is not so tasty.
that is true. That is true. And he probably didn't get asked by like 4 other bands if they could use his kit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a classic band joke right there.
So then, everyone's happy. They save the day. The music kind of hits everybody in a different way. All throughout the wine mixer, everybody's kind of affected differently. And somehow this one song makes all of their problems go away in their own unique way. And then what I love about it after is there's this funny hug scene with Derek. And if you're watching, like
all of them trying not to fight.
Well, and at first, like when Farrell's like, "You give me a hug," and like Derek has to stop himself because his initial reaction is like, "Yeah, I bet you like that." Like, and he just stops himself. Like he has to stop himself from just chirping him. And then when they're going in, they're going in for the hug, and like Derek's kind of like curling up, like not wanting to get too close, and you actually see Brennan like punch him in the ribs to get him to open up.
Okay, so like that, like I whenever I see that scene and like that hug, like I feel like that's like us 3 guys talking in private, or like, you know, if I ever comment one of you guys or compliment one of you guys, it's like I just left myself open. I mean, a punch in the ribs. You know?
But I just thought the shot in the gut was a nice little part of like I feel like that was Will Ferrell probably being like Will Ferrell in that moment, because he gives him a nice little liver shot. And you see Derek kind of open up and they have the hug. But then, we get a bit of a fast forward to the wind down scene with the family dinner. And Derek's trying to, like, it starts with Derek trying to do his, like, I was chilling with this guy over here, blah, blah. And you see Robert quiet and he's like, we talked about this. And then he goes silent. And so you see, like, it's the dawning of a new era. Robert's got a surprise for the boys, takes them outside, and woo, boat in the tree. And they're all stoked, and Derek's stoked. And frankly, if I had a boat in a tree, like it was like a tree boathouse, I'd be pretty stoked. Like,
well, the cherry on top is the old Chewbacca mask.
Yes.
In the boat.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well,
that's true.
And we've gone through this whole thing with without even mentioning therapy or the therapist at all. And what I love about this is, and just a little backstory since we missed it all, like Brendan started going to therapy, trying to get someone to teach him how to be grown up. And she ends up like falling for him, classic like therapist kind of story. But then she's acting like she doesn't, like in no way, shape or form am I doing this in any manner that could be construed unprofessionally and blah, blah, blah. But then at the end, when they're in the boat and stuff, she goes to Robert Nancy. She's like, you guys know that you're enabling and this is fucking stupid, right? She's like, but then she stopped and she's like, but Brennan is wearing the shit out of that pirate hat. This is a funny little bit.
It's such a good movie, like just like through and through, and like it's. I can't think of like a better, comedy that came after it. You know what I mean? Like I feel like this was like the last great comedy. This movie.
It's such a feel-good flick. Like I think it's strange because there's a lot of stuff that isn't like appropriate for kids, but if you're an adult and you just want to like laugh your head off, this movie is just non-stop jokes, and I love the ending. I love the whole storyline. It's just a great movie. I can't watch it again.
It's just so ridiculous.
The casting was done excellently. So I don't think I need to ask this because I think it's going to be as obvious as the more than a feeling question was. But let's pretend we're old style TV and you're flipping through the stations on the guide and you see Step Brothers. Are you stopping to watch it?
Fuck yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Hard yes for me too.
Hard yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. That said, I think we're ready to get to our rankings, boys. And
All right.
you know what? Just I'm gonna go first, and I'm gonna keep it consistent. 9.55, the Boston number, because it's, you know what? It's a comedy, and I don't think that should take away from its ranking whatsoever. Like I don't think it has to be like an Academy Award winner in order to get
Agreed.
high marks. And
Yeah.
I loved it. I thought the casting was great. I thought the dialogue was great. No, I don't think I'd fix anything about it. I think I would leave it exactly as it is. Great movie, 9.55. That's what I'm going with.
So I've been like, I don't know, I've been kind of on like a bit of like a classics appreciation kick lately. Like I've been listening to a lot of like early punk and shit, and like watching like, but like also like watching like early comedy stuff, and like this gives me like, it reminds me of Leslie Nielsen. Like if you watch like Airplane or Naked Gun.
Naked Gun's great.
And you see like this, and it's just like Will Ferrell like being like the modern day Leslie Nielsen, essentially. So yeah, fucking great movie. 9 out of 10 for me.
Sweet.
You know what's interesting about this movie, from my review point of view, if you look at like Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb or like Empire, they gave it like Rotten Tomatoes gives it like a 55%, IMDb gives it like a 6.9 out of 10. It actually has a lot of like bad reviews. A lot of people talk about how this is.
Sorry to cut you off. I just want to say, what does that Rotten Tomatoes review tell you about Rotten Tomatoes, though?
Well, Rotten Tomatoes is corrupt as fuck, and they can eat dick balls.
And a lot of people say that this movie doesn't like measure up to legendary movies like Anchorman, but I completely disagree with like the modern kind of like all these reviews that I've seen on this movie. This is one movie that I feel is like, for me in the modern comedy, it stands like head and shoulders above all the other movies. I think it's like Will Ferrell's best work.
But it's funny, like, because like we often talk about this on the podcast about like, if this movie came out today, like it wouldn't come out today, and like I feel like the same could be said for this movie, or at least a lot of parts of it would definitely not be done the same way. Yeah. And do you think that would take away from it?
No, I think it would still be great. I think a lot of movies like that are in this vein, like anything like with Paul Rudd and Judd Apatow and like Seth Rogen, they're all kind of in this like vein, which I would put as like modern comedy. And I just think this is the best one of those. So I'm going to also give this a 9.6. Like, excellent. I can watch this over and over again. Yeah. I pretty much have it memorized, and I use lines from this movie in my everyday life, which is, I think, a clear sign that it's a really good movie.
And just to touch on what you were just talking about, Phil, I think that raises a pretty great point about comedy in general in this day and age. And I think it's a shame that we're not allowed to be humorous about certain content. I will agree, maybe it was too far the other way for too long, for sure. Like, it doesn't have to be super offensive to all these different groups in order to be funny and successful. But at the same time, like, offense is such a key part of comedy in some ways, right? Like, somebody is going to get offended by good comedy. Someone is going to be offended. And sorry that those people, even if they're a small group, they have a very loud voice on the internet, and it's getting a lot of things to the point that you're not allowed to do them. And I think that's a shame. And I'm not coming down on cancel culture. I definitely think that there are people and there are things that do need to go away, and I'm totally cool with that. But I don't think everything needs to go away.
Yeah, I don't know.
If they cancel Step Brothers, I'd be like, "Are you fucking high?"
Right, right. That's kind of where I'm coming from. I just
but it's a slippery slope.
I agree, and it's a tough thing to talk about, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, because like we shouldn't be afraid to have the conversation even. Like, that's how far it's gone, is that we can't even have the conversation about the conversation because we may offend someone.
Sorry. I'm of the perspective that artists should be allowed to tell stories, and their stories should be allowed to be seen or listened to or heard or read, or however they want to put that story out into the world. and let the chips fall where they may. You know, let people judge that and view that and take that in, however it is, and make and let society accept it as they will. That's that's my view.
For sure,
that's where I'm a hippie.
I think a great example of this that I saw. It's a bit of an older one, but there was some outrage a little while back about the book To Kill a Mockingbird, because one of its central themes is race and stuff, and it was before canceling was a thing, but it was effectively there was a group trying to get it canceled and try to get it pulled from like school literature and stuff. And I'm like, the uncomfortableness is the point. That's the point of the book.
Exactly.
When
I first tell that story.
Well, that's about that for me. Like, and you guys all grew up around the same area. We grew up in a predominantly like white, lower mid class area, like in a rural area,
with a lot of like prejudice and
with a lot of
people.
racist people. And so to read a book about racism, it actually like opened up my eyes about how
it's not cool and it never was. Yeah,
and I feel like canceling Kill a Mockingbird like totally kills the point. The whole point of reading that book is so like, especially for me, like a kid who grew up in a rural place who's white. Obviously I've been like had like a privileged life compared to a person of color, like described in that book. And so to hear that story and see the pain that it caused and like all the damage that acting that way causes, and actually To Kill a Mockingbird actually had like a really like profound effect on the way that I looked at other people. And so I found that so kind of confusing that got like part of the cancel culture. And I think that's what happens with like this, like when you're too extreme about things, sometimes you kind of miss the point.
Well, the fact of the matter is once you're blocking out any type of knowledge, I think you kind of lost the plot in any kind of people's revolution or anything that you're saying that represents the people. And once you're blocking out any kind of download point of knowledge, once you block that off, then it's done.
Let's be clear though, Pepe Le Pew sucks.
Pepe Le Pew was a rapist. I'm cool. Well, also like fucking non-sexy Lola Bunny. I don't care.
Yeah, we don't care about that stuff.
I don't fucking care.
That is so
it's your
far.
Property. If you want to redesign the character, I don't care. Get rid of the rapist. Fine. Let's move forward, but let's not forget the past, because that's where we build off of. And if we start censoring the past and erasing it and pretending like it never happened, we're just bound to repeat it.
Like, I don't know how I feel about a lot of the most recent stuff that's gone on. I know that I don't much care, and I think that ties into what you're saying too. But like, okay, so an example, since we're here, I figured we'll talk about it a little bit more. An example too of another recent thing is the Dr. Seuss, right? The Dr. Seuss company decided to pull 6 books. I mean, that's fine. I don't even know what books they were, so I don't even care. But my overarching point that I'll say about this is, if there was a kid's book that your kid got their hands on and they read it and it had these kind of like weird notions or weird ideas, like, is that not an opportunity to have that talk with your kids and explain that, like, in 1960 or whenever this came out, the world was different and we're not that way anymore? And like, I don't know.
The though is, if you read that same story, Brett, I'm sorry, Charles, to cut you off here, but if you read that same story, it's presented to you as Dr. Seuss, like, that was canceled. They canceled those books, and it's like, actually, no, like, Dr. Seuss just decided to pull those books out of print. Like, and it turns out, like, a while ago, they decided to do that.
For sure.
And like, it's like,
well, that's just outrage coming from the other side. I just brought them up because that's the thing in the news, right?
It's like manufacturing that outrage, It's like, just drawing a line where there doesn't need to be one.
Yeah.
Again, they're saying like, we're not denying our past, we're just moving forward. But no, you can't do that nowadays. You cannot grow as a person.
Yeah, I think we need to allow people to grow, but I also believe that we can't tell people how to feel. And if people are reading these books or they seeing these characters and they feel a certain way, like, I don't like someone else telling me how to feel. So if I'm reading a Dr. Seuss book or I'm watching like Pepe Le Pew, if I feel that these characters are offensive, I'm allowed to feel that way. And I'm allowed to tell people that, hey, maybe we shouldn't teach other children to do this kind of stuff. And I think that's part of it, is like, we need to have that conversation, and we need to be able to move forward because people do get offended by this stuff. And I think there's nothing wrong with people saying, hey, I don't really like this.
Right.
And people listening and saying, hey, like, okay, I'm hearing you and let's, move forward in a positive way. And I think that's actually a good thing that's happening in our society. I hope that we can move forward so that our children's children don't even have to have this stupid conversation because we have a society that understands that, like, you're not supposed to act like a goof.
Yeah. Step Brothers, though, good movie.
Great movie. Yeah. That movie will never be canceled because it is pure fun.
I'm not going to awkwardly try to change the subject for going on a serious tangent, but I will say that we're about out of time. So next week we have a song that you guys are both big fans of. I have not really given it a whole lot of listen, so I'm pretty excited to do so.
Haven't you?
It is "Bleed" by Meshuggah.
Yes.
I have.
Yes,
I've heard chunks of that song while at your guys' place, and must have looked uncomfortable enough for you to turn it off because I don't remember ever listening to it start to finish.
Listen, to our listeners, listening to this song is going to make your wrist more tired than it usually is.
Mm.
You know, right?
Yeah, put it on loud and some nice speakers and prepare to break your neck from the head banging.
Oh my God.
So we're ready to do that. And then a movie that we're doing, speaking of Academy Award winners, is the Jodie Foster, Anthony Hopkins horror iconic movie, Silence of the Lambs. So I'm pretty excited.
Hello, Clarice.
I'm pretty excited to do that. It's been a minute since we did a horror movie, but like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. But I'm excited to get back to it. So let's enjoy that. So for anyone listening, tune in next week for that episode, and also follow us on our social medias at the Stoners POV on Twitter and Instagram. Wade, we know that you're active and you actually communicate with us. We're stoked on that. Everybody else, follow Wade's lead because he's awesome. And
hold on, I miss you.
We want you to be awesome too.
We're listening, reading about Chopper Raid.
Yeah. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say thank you for listening. My name is Brett. That's Terrell. That's Phil. This has been the Stoners POV. See you next week.
Later, guys.
Bye-bye.
This house is a fucking prison on planet bullshit! And the galaxy of this sucks camel dicks!